Hi folks, I'm Tim Hintsala of Iron Ape Prop Works, Beaten Generation Films, and Iron Ape Forge. This is my video review of 52577, the new film from Patrick Reed Johnson. 18 plus years in the making. Let's watch the trailer and then we'll discuss.
Come on, just tell me, what's playing here?
Star Wars, right? Star Wars?
Star Wars?
When I was a kid, they used to show these short films before the feature called serials, and they weren't very good. In fact, they were actually kind of terrible in a wonderful sort of way, because you could almost imagine the actors suddenly turning to look out at you and saying, look, we know you can tell we made these sets out of cardboard, and we know you can see the wires holding up our spaceship. But look how much fun we're having. And those stupid little films meant more to me than any big budget Hollywood extravaganza, because they gave me hope that with a little allowance,
You okay?
No, I'm not okay.
a little ingenuity, and a little stolen time, with my dad's old wind-up movie camera, I could make movies too, and I did. Boy, did I. How much do you want to be a director, Patrick?
I want it more than anything I've ever wanted in my life.
Right.
Are you really sure about this?
Do you need to be one? Then you might just make it.
You really think so?
If it can happen to me, it can happen to you.
Get out!
Just remember something. Life doesn't move at 24 frames per second. It moves a lot faster. And on this picture, you only get one roll of film.
So, this movie took over 18 years to make. Before production began, 18 long years ago, Patrick Reed Johnson released to the fans via Ain't It Cool News the screenplay for 52577. This was a couple of years into my journey into filmmaking. I had already done a short film and showed it at a couple of film festivals in LA and one in New York, and it was quite an adventure. Challenging and a little intimidating, and but definitely worth the effort. Trying to get anybody in the industry to talk to you when you're young and unknown is kind of difficult, and it was pretty shocking when Patrick Reed Johnson released this screenplay out just for anybody to read. Anybody who was curious, anybody who wanted to know what this journey could be like. And I was blown away. At the time, I hadn't written more than 2 screenplays, and they weren't all that great. And I had read hundreds, though, and I still read screenplays and write as well. But this one here, from the first page to the last, had me absolutely enthralled. And to understand young Patrick's journey in this film, you need to understand the adult Patrick Reed Johnson's journey to get this film made. Now, Pat had made several films that you may have heard of, like Space Invaders and Dragonheart and Angus and quite a few others. Um, but this one, he wanted to do himself. He needed to tell this story from his own perspective without any producers or money men changing the rules for him, making ridiculous demands, and basically ruining what he set out to make. So he took his time. More time than I think anybody else has, except for maybe Phil Tippett and Mad Gods. You know, almost 20 years to make a film. Uh, that's relatively unheard of. And let me tell you, folks, without spoiling anything, this film holds up. I've read and reread this screenplay so many times, I kind of know it by heart. And I was a little nervous when I finally got the chance to actually see it. Because how could it live up to the expectations that I had for it? This is almost a Lord of the Rings level event for me. I mean, I've read those books so many times. When those films came out, obviously I loved them, but you know, there was a lot that was left out. In this case, only a few scenes were left out, and nothing that alters the story for the worse. Young Pat's view of the world, his desire to tell stories and make films that entertain, is the same desire I have. And to see this done so well, with so much love and care and attention, and a brilliant cast and crew, and this entirely handmade feel. The effects were entirely done by him and a very small crew of very talented people. The actors, the crew, the support team he had, it's just a beautiful thing. It restores my faith in the business. Now that it's 20 years or so on, and I've been in the business myself, and I've had my share of encounters with crappy producers and, you know, the dark side of the business, I really appreciate what he did here. I think you guys might too. Whether you're in the business or not, or just have a curiosity for it, this is a great window into it, especially at a time period where the whole industry was changing. And it changed because of films like Star Wars and Close Encounters of the Third Kind and 2001: A Space Odyssey. Which brings me to the main metaphor in this picture. That fear of the unknown, the fear of change, the fear of taking a chance, right? Reaching out to touch the monolith when the other apes are too scared and too unworthy of that adventure. But if you have the strength, if you have the grit to push forward, you can achieve great things. And if you don't, at least you tried. And young Pat here sees the world in the way that I do, especially when I was younger. I see it through the lens of film, through the lens of storytelling. And the imagery in this film hits me so hard, just as hard as his written word did for me. So I'm going to wrap this up because I'm a little long-winded, but I want to tell you how much I truly love this film. And I highly recommend anybody who has an interest in filmmaking or coming-of-age stories or the greatest event in my lifetime, which was the release of Star Wars on May 25th, 1977. It is absolutely worth your time, and definitely check it out. It's available on Amazon for rent or purchase, and I highly recommend you just invest in the Blu-ray, because this film is wonderful. It is beyond compare, and it is the best film I've seen in the last decade or two. So, do yourself a favor. Share this with a loved one, a young one who wants to make movies, because this is how you take the first steps into that world. And that very first step is reaching out and touching that monolith. Do what no one else has done before. Try harder. Try and tell your stories the way you want to tell them. And this is a great blueprint to get that done. The inspiration here sticks with me, and I think it always will. So, peace and love, everybody. 52577. It's worth your time.